yoga has always been about relationships. It's about connections and coming together and making whole, and recognizing that there is ultimately no separation between what might be seemingly opposite states of perception, like heaven or earth, or mind or body, or matter and consciousness, or even you and I. And so the more that we can embrace connection, the more that we can envelop yoga in our lives. So it is about relationships. My journey with yoga, it's always for me been quite a miracle. But when I was a teenager, I worked in the Lower East Side in Manhattan at a small cafe called Life Cafe. And my boss at Life Cafe was a man by the name of David Life. And one of the fellow waitresses there was a woman by the name of Sharon Gannon. And back in 1987, they got into yoga. And when they came back from India, I noticed just a huge difference in just how they approached the world and in their character. And they'd always been wonderful people, but just something else seemed to have shifted in them. And it made me very curious. David and Sharon went on to open up Jivamukti Yoga Centers, and they were a huge influence in my growth at that time. I practiced yoga here and there, but it never really, I loved the physical aspect of it. I loved going into the rooms, I loved the workout, I loved the sweating, but something slowly started happening. The more I practiced yoga, the less I wanted to drink, and the less I wanted to do drugs, then the less I wanted to smoke cigarettes, and then I no longer wanted to eat meat. And things that just didn't feel good on my body seemed to slowly start to leave themselves from my world. And it wasn't until around 1993 or so that yoga actually had a real impact on my mind. It took a lot of extra push-ups to release the tension, to create an environment within my heart that I could actually feel. And that's when the yoga took a different turn, and that was here in Los Angeles. So I moved to LA back around 93, and practiced hard and committedly. And one day I was in a yoga class, Brian Kest's, and he was going on about something, who knows, probably love. And we were in pigeon pose, and this feeling came up over me. And I couldn't identify the feeling, but I felt a little panicky, a little uncomfortable. And again, I breathed into it, and again, this feeling came up. And all of a sudden I realized I was going to start to cry. And that was very unusual for me, because that was just not my nature. And it was also something I never experienced in a yoga class before. I just kind of zoned out. So I actually had to get up. I went into the bathroom at Yoga Works and just started weeping, and just all this energy moved through my body. And I went back into the class, and for whatever reason was able to hear everything that he was saying in a very different way. And from that point on, my yoga had taken a shift from being very physical into being something much more emotional, much more feminine and softer. And my practices continue to evolve since that point. So I've had pretty wonderful teachers along the way that have helped to inspire and support my own personal exploration. And it's gone from being physical to emotional to much more psychic and symbolic and spiritual.